limestone headland, later called the Great Orme, had been standing there long before anyone thought to call it anything at all. Rocks, after all, rarely bother with names.
Stone Age folk came first, dragging their ambitions up the slopes. They chipped at flint, muttered about the weather, and occasionally invented fire when nobody was looking. Their homes were functional, their lives short, and their sense of humor entirely unrecorded.
It is, however, safe to assume they had one, because anyone who can live in a drafty cave on a cliff edge without laughing at least once is unlikely to survive very long.
Centuries later, sailors spotted the headland from their rocking boats and decided it looked a bit like a giant sea beast. Hence Great Orme, meaning great worm or serpent landsman, who had no imagination whatsoever, but an excellent sense of boundaries, preferred to call it the Creadine Peninsula. This led to spirited arguments. Sailors swore they could see a dragon's back. Landsmen insisted it was clearly just inconvenient limestone.
Neither group was entirely wrong, which is the only reason the peninsula didn't immediately sink into the sea, out of embarrassment.
In the age of 4, Edward I, a man with a fondness for conquering things, and then handing them out like raffle prizes, granted the manor of Golgoth to Bishop Enion of Bangor. Edward was very clear: 3 townships, a parish, and no map. The bishop nodded gravely and then asked the only sensible question: do I get a map? No, said Edward, use your imagination. Maps are expensive. Imagination is free.
Thus, why Gogarth, why Singradr, and your Widfid were deposited into the bishop's care. He set about governing them as best he could, which mostly involved making sure people knew which township was theirs and not accidentally misplacing them in the sea.
Llandudno, who had not actually asked to become the patron saint of anything, found himself increasingly invoked in parish affairs. He watched from his heavenly vantage point with the air of a man who had been handed responsibility for a group project without being consulted.
When modern Llandudno later took his name, Tudno sighed in the distinctly put-upon manner of saints everywhere. It was flattering, of course, but he would rather they'd built him a decent coffee shop instead.
As centuries rolled by in their usual untidy way, the town began to spread. Craigie Dawn joined in, waving towels from the shoreline. Penryn Bay politely made itself available. While digging, we hovered nearby like a guest who wasn't sure if they'd been invited, but brought a bottle of wine just in case. The parishes of Lonrose and Glengiston and also came into the picture, As if history wasn't complicated enough, the Statute of Rutland of 1284 officially folded the whole lot into Caernarfonshire, where it has remained despite several attempts to file it under miscellaneous. Every good town deserves a philosopher, and Llandudno's happened to be a seagull. Nobody knew his name, though some claimed it was Trevor. He was seen most often perched on the promenade railings, squawking about the nature of time.
Time is a fish, he would proclaim, scattering chips from startled tourists. And Llandudno is the net, catch history lightly, or it wriggles away.
Most ignored him, some filmed him, a few thought he might be onto something. Trevor himself was quite certain he understood the universe better than the humans who kept dropping sandwiches. Time itself, a rather smug narrator in the background of everything, ticked and talked with theatrical florists, Stone Age tools, Bronze Age ornaments, Iron Age hill forts, all piled up in a heap of centuries. Edwardian hotels later landed on top, with improbable hats and deck chairs. Tourists arrived with cameras and bafflement, utterly unaware that they were walking through several millennia of improbable survival time. Being both sarcastic and self-important, chuckled quietly to itself.